There are many ways the Me Too movement began before the allegations about former Hollywood mogul Harvey Weinstein were revealed in 2017. But there is no question that the Weinstein investigation was a milestone moment for what would become an international movement. And as Amna Nawaz tells us, Weinstein's conviction today on 2 felony sex counts is seen as another important milestone.
That's right, Judy. 6 women testified during the trial that Weinstein assaulted them. But it was cases involving 2 of those women, Jessica Mann, a former actress, and Miriam Haley, a former production assistant, that led to the convictions. Now, Weinstein was found guilty by a jury of 7 men and 5 women on charges of rape in the 3rd degree and criminal sexual assault. He was acquitted of the most serious charges, rape in the 1st degree and predatory sexual assault. Elizabeth Wagmeister was in the courtroom today. She's been there through the entire trial. She reports for Variety, and she joins me now. Elizabeth, welcome to the NewsHour. You were in that room. Everyone has been watching that courtroom from the outside. When the verdict was read, what was the reaction in the room, and specifically from Harvey Weinstein?
You know, it's interesting because after covering this since January 6th, it's obviously been a very long trial. Everyone that's been in that courtroom every day, we've just been waiting for this moment. And when the moment finally came, it almost seemed surreal. I'm telling you, there were no loud audible gasps, there was no screaming. It felt like nobody in there was breathing when they were just waiting to hear what the verdict was. Now, I looked directly at Harvey Weinstein, as I've done throughout this entire trial, and his face looked just stone cold. It looked like there was no reaction really whatsoever, but I've got to be honest, it was hard to see Harvey because he was surrounded by a swarm of court officers. Of course, every day there are officers inside the courtroom, but the second that that bell rang and they said the jury has reached a verdict, double the amount of officers that are usually in there came and they surrounded Harvey. Now, he didn't do anything that would signal that he needed the court officers to be there, but of course, it's typical that they do surround a defendant, and they certainly did today.
Now, as we mentioned, he was found guilty on those 2 counts, right? Those related to the cases involving 2 women whose testimony you heard in great detail, Jessica Mann and Miriam Haley. We haven't heard from jurors yet, so we don't know why they decided the way that they did. But from what you heard in the courtroom, what do you think was most compelling in their testimony that may have led to those guilty charges?
You know, what's really interesting is particularly with Jessica Mann, she had a grueling testimony. It took 3 days. She had to be taken off the stand numerous times because she was crying. At one point, we overheard her in the courtroom saying that she felt like she was having a panic attack. And there was a lot of conversation about how complex her testimony was. Would jurors believe her? You know, of course, the defense, they brought up a lot of evidence of phone records, texts, emails from these women, but particularly Jessica Mann, she had about 5 years of communication with Harvey Weinstein. She admitted on the stand, she said, yes, part of this relationship was consensual, but it was complex, he was abusive, and that does not change that he raped me on the day in March 2013. So that was really the most surprising part of the jury's verdict, that they did decide to convict Harvey on rape in the 3rd degree, which came from Jessica Mann. So I would imagine that something of her testimony was very compelling to them. Maybe actually what his defense was thinking would not be credible with her, the fact that it was so complex, that could have actually worked in her favor, that the jurors said, this is clearly so complex, that there's something here. We believe this woman, she seems so credible, even though she almost seems uncredible.
Elizabeth, this is the thing everyone is wondering. We may not know in this moment, but it is what this moment now means. You were in there every day watching the testimony, hearing what people had to say, hearing the defense attorneys. Do you think you can say, okay, this is the significance of this verdict right now? What's your biggest takeaway from the trial?
I think the biggest takeaway is that Harvey certainly is and was emblematic of a big, powerful figure, certainly in Hollywood, but also this stretches across to numerous different industries. Now, this is something that his defense brought up from day one in their way of saying this is why this trial isn't fair. He is Harvey Weinstein. He's been the poster boy, basically, of a whole movement. That's why this isn't fair, and that's why he should be found not guilty. Now, clearly, that's not what the jury came to, but I think that's the big takeaway. That is the significance, that for all of these years, certainly in Hollywood, which is the industry that I cover, that Harvey Weinstein has been seen as a big, powerful figure that could never, ever be taken down, so to speak. And now that is shown that in a court of law, that women can be heard. These are allegations. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty, but today we saw he was found guilty on 2 different charges.
That's Elizabeth Wagmeister reports from Variety, joining us from New York tonight. Thank you.